Welcome to this video on drawings. Here we're going to create our first drawing and insert the views required for each of the components and the assembly that we've created. Before we do that, I just want to set this so that it's got a set distance apart. So if I expand my mates in the design tree and come here to the limits mate that we created in the last video, when I select it here in the design tree, I will get this dimension come up over the on the graphics area. So I click on that dimension. That allows me to now set an actual distance that I want this. Now remember, it must be between 0 and 70 mil. I can't make it any larger than the constraints that I've made for that limit. So I just want it over halfway, so just slightly larger, and I want it in multiples of 5 mil because I set the screw pitch to 10 mil. One revolution, but half a revolution, it will still align these holes in that correct position for us, so then it looks correct in the drawing. So I'm going to set that to 40. 35 is halfway. 40 I reckon is just going to look just right. If I turn that, go Control 1 to look at it from the front view, that looks like a good distance apart, and it won't take up too much drawing real estate in the drawing. So to create a drawing, first I'm going to save my assembly and go here to the new. I can hit the Control N for a new, and it'll bring up this dialog box, and I want to use drawing version 3 AS1100. You won't see that one in your list anyway. So I'm going to click OK to that. I get this little dialog box pop up, which is now asking me for which drawing template I want to use, which sheet format. So if I come down, I want to use an A3, and I want an ISO AS1100, and we'll go version 2. You won't see these other versions in your list. So I'm going to click OK to that. Alright, so now I've got my drawing template that's come up, and now it's asking me which model, which component or assembly I want to insert into this drawing. And because I've only got one document open, the assembly, I've only got one in this list. Now I can browse and open up a document, but I just want this particular one for this instance. So that one is selected. If I have multiple ones open, whichever one I had open just before I started the drawing, it's the one that will be selected by default. So just remember that when you are creating new drawings. Next is what we want is to hit this little arrow here, which takes us to the next part of our drawing. If you can't see this, it sometimes disappears with some versions. Drag this side bar over. You can hover over it between the graphics area and the properties manager here, and you'll get the little double arrows pop up and allow you to drag it. And that will pop up and show this little next arrow come up if it's hiding for you. Rightio. So what I want to do now is insert my first view, and the first one I want is the front view. Now if you don't see what I've got here up on the screen, what you want to do is tick this little box here, preview, and that gives you a preview of it. So if you I uncheck it, I get this box, and it's just the silhouette of what that there is. And sometimes it may be confused depending on how you modeled it as to whether it's actually the front view by SolidWorks' orientation, or if it's going to be the front view that you wish to have for your front view of a drawing. My rule of thumb when it comes to selecting views, I like the front view to be the most detailed of views. It's the one that's got the most information. So that's way I selected, unless it's got something like a car or a ship, which has the front of the ship or the front of a car. It's got the left-hand side, the right-hand side, top and bottom. They're predefined scenarios as to what is the front view of a component. So I want to make sure I've got that selected, and if I haven't got the view I want, I can select it over here in the Properties Manager. So if I wanted the right hand view or the left hand view of this particular component, even the back, so I can see it from the back there. I got the the front again. I can go for the top view, bottom, and I can even insert an isometric like so. But we want the front view. So I'm going to click the front view. I'm going to place this here. Now it doesn't matter where you place it. Initially, we can always move it. So I'm just going to place that here and click. Now, once you click, it should start the additional views. So what it's doing now, depending on which way you move the mouse, so I've gone up, it's wanting to project a top view. So I can go up the top here and place a top view, and I can even come out to the right and place a right view. Now I do want an isometric, so let's have a look. If I go out here off to this side, it will place the isometric looking at it that way. Let's look at it from another direction. That doesn't look too bad. I'll still go that. Yeah. And vice versa, I can go down and get all different other. But I'm going to keep this one. One other little trick you got. So let's say I don't want to actually place it right there. I am constrained. It's coming out at a 45 degree for that isometric. If I hold down the control key, it will break that align snap, and it allows me now to drop that wherever I want, and I can click and place that there. So that's now placed my views. Now by default is an assembly. It's still wanting to continue adding views. I'm going to hit the escape key, and that completes the inserting of each of the views, all right, from the initial setup. If I did want to add additional views, again, I can easily go to my drawing tab on the ribbon bar, and I can add projected views. Just need to make sure you select whichever view you wanted. So like if I wanted the back view or something like that, I could easily select the right view and go projected, and it would allow me to put a back view of a component in as well. If I want section views and all that, we'll cover that in more detail further on for each of the parts there. But that's created the views that I wanted. Now, isometric, well, let's just fix this one up. For some reason, it always inserts the center lines in the isometric, and it's one of my bugbears I hate. But the easiest way to get rid of it is to use the filters. Now, I've always got the filters on down the bottom here, and if you don't see it, right click. Where are they? Have they gone? There they go. So toolbars, and what we want is selection filters. So that one's turned on in my instance, so you click on that and that will show up filters. So what we want to do here is we want center lines. And we're going to use it so that it only selects center lines. So if you ever find that you can't select something, sometimes you've got keyboard shortcuts, and I know E and V are one of them. If I hover over this one, a vector point, if you just press the V, it will turn that on, and it will stop you from selecting lines or faces, but only selecting points. Same here with edges, that's where the E comes into it, and so forth. X is the faces, and again, there's a whole heap of shortcuts that they've got there. But the one we want is center lines. So if I select that, I can only now select center lines. And a good indicator that you do have filters on is that the cursor now has the little filter, the funnel icon with the cursor. So if I now have a window and go across there, it's only going to select those center lines. I hit the delete key and that gets rid of those. Whenever I turn a filter on, you can either select this here, the centerline filter that you add, or select this filter here to toggle filters off, which happens to be F6 if you want to use the keyboard shortcut. Rightio. So let's just finish up this assembly. I'm going to click on the isometric. I'm going to change that to a shaded. So here we can now start to add a bit of color to our views. I don't recommend adding color to the main views, front views, side views. Keep them standard there. So I'm going to there. But whenever you select the front, the shaded, it's going to give you the option of draft or high quality. Highly recommend, pun intended, going to high quality. It just makes it look a lot neater and sharper, especially when you print it out or create PDFs. There. Now, this has inserted each of these components in half scale. So the sheet scale, so the overall sheet scale has come in at 1:2. Now down here I can select this and change that to 1:1. So let's see if I've got enough drawing real estate to make it 1:1. And I reckon we could probably make this work. There. So here I get to shuffle them around. So when you are moving it, use the pregnant pause. So hover over it, and when you get the little crosshairs come up icon below your cursor, you now know that you can move it. And I tend to find the corner of the perimeter of each view allows you to move it. If you move down in here, sometimes you just get selection properties come up, but if you want to move it, use the selection. So select the view, and then when you move over to the corner, into a corner, you can select it and drag it around. There. Rightio. Now, let's put a fillet one in. I'm just going to select it and delete that one. Don't need it anymore, but all the others, they seem to be fine. There. I don't know what... that will be the center of the arc. I'm just going to delete them for now. I don't want to keep them because it is a fillet, and I don't want to confuse it with the actual thing. Center line of the spindle. Alright, that's another thing. So, to turn on hidden details, what have I got? I'm just going to pretty this up, delete a few of these that have popped up that aren't required. Sweet, that gets rid of them. Alright, and so I want to turn on hidden detail. So if I select the view again, now, one thing I should mention. Alright, so the front view was the first view that we inserted, and because we inserted it is what we call the parent view. The subsequent views that you select or create after the first view, they become the child, and children should always listen to their parents, apparently. Anyway, so notice how when I drag the front view here, being the parent view, notice the other views move with it. So they've got, the top view is aligned vertically and the side view is aligned horizontally. So you can see how they all align with each other there. So it puts those alignments in by default, and you can break them, but I don't recommend it unless you're doing something special. So whenever I grab a child view, I can only move it up and down. I can't move it left and right because it's got that vertical alignment. Same with the right hand view. I can't move it up and down, but I can move it left and right because it's snapped to the parent. Same with when we go to selecting hidden detail. If for some reason I only wanted hidden detail in the top view, I could select it and then turn it on. But I want it in all the views, so I'm going to select the front view. And if I scroll down, so we did shaded before, but by default I've got it hidden with lines removed. The next one across is hidden lines visible. So if I select that, it now shows the hidden detail lines there. So that has now got our view set up here in the assembly. I'm just going to move that so it's inside the drawing, not over there. So none of the views are intersecting, and we'll see how we go when it comes to dimensioning and that. In the next video, I'm going to create a new sheet and we'll add some individual parts in their own views as well. So one last thing before we finish this video is let's save our drawing. So up here, click on the little floppy disk icon and we're going to save it. So I tend to, I am going to save it as the same as the assembly that we've got here. So the drawing number has the same number as the drawing. Oh, sorry. The drawing has the same part number as the assembly or the part that we're creating for the drawing. But we're going to go for a single drawing reference here, and I'm just going to navigate to where I've got these. Alright, so that's got that there. So that's where I want to save it. So TMC 130 and 0 tac 00. No, it's a SolidWorks drawing. So that's going to save that. Save that where you've saved the rest of the parts and the assembly, and that will complete this video.